two brothers fought against an entire invading army, holding them off for more than an hour and a half, and by that, buying the time for the entire village to evacuate, saving countless lives. Two men alone against an entire invading Syrian army. And we got it all on video. And also their family have sent me a personal message, so stay tuned, we're gonna read it at the end of this video. Our world needs more men like these two. As the Syrian army was advancing with tanks, artillery, armored vehicles, snipers, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, drones, attack drones, and surveillance drones in order to go and slaughter the entire village of Al-Dour, Druze and Christians alike. A group of 5 strong Druze men decided to stand their ground and fight until the end. By doing so, buying the time for the entire village to evacuate, men, women, and children alike, so they can run into the mountain of Al-Suwayda. Brave men, farmers, armed with simple rifles, AK-47s, and hunting guns. They knew they will not stand a chance, but they still chose to do the ultimate sacrifice, to give their life so others may live. This is the Druze way of Syria. Now let's watch the video. This video is compiled by images from the Syrian drones, as well as some of the videos that were taken by the fighters. And in the end, we also have the testimony of a Druze man, one of the only ones who survived this fight. 5 Druze men of the Shaarani family fought an entire army. Look at that. Hunting rifles, AK-47s. This guy Yusuf, he noticed that there's a drone above his head, and he turns around and you see that the drone is about to drop a grenade on him. So he opens fire, trying to take down the grenade. Meanwhile, his friends run to take shelter. Actually, it's pretty surprising. They're pretty trained. You know, they're laying down on the ground. He tried to roll. If you zoom in the video and you take it slow, you can actually see the grenade. Now, the 2 cousins risked their life to evacuate him from the battlefield. So they went into harm's way, evacuated him, and took him into safety. These are the 2 brothers who decided to fight until the end. They stayed behind, kept holding the line. As you can see here, the Syrian army is advancing here with tanks, with artillery, with BMPs, you know, armored vehicles, with jeeps. That's the village, that's the house, Hassan's house. I think it's a Syrian tank. He shells the house. At that point, I guess they ran away from the house, or maybe just before, and it would be very hard to survive that. Look at this brave man. He's running right now, under fire, turns around, kneels, starts shooting, rolls over, probably getting cover, you know, for his brother, also to get some suppressing fire so he can grab shelter. That's where his brother, Hassan, get injured. He's trying to roll for cover, and then he gets shot by, I guess, the machine gun from the tank or the BMP. This is the crazy part. Ashraf. He just saw his brother being cut down. He knows that his brother is in the open. Now, we've seen these guys know how to fight, so he knew what he was doing. He chose to run into harm's way in order to maybe save his brother, or maybe just seeing him for the last time and saying goodbye. But crazy. We don't see jihadists doing these things. They usually just leave their friends to die. Now he's running, he takes some cover again because they're opening fire at him. Trying to snipe him out. He's returning fire now, probably to get them to, you know, lower down their heads, and he's running into the neighborhood. Now, mind you, this guy, all of them, they knew they're gonna die. They have guns. They don't have RPGs even. They're fighting against drones. They're fighting against tanks, against artillery, against snipers, against a band of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They're fighting against an entire army. 2 men alone are standing and holding an entire army invasion for a village. They knew they will not come out alive from this one. So what I think he was doing, he was trying to go and flank and maybe go and move the fight to another place. But also, let's face it, he's having only 1 gun, maybe 5, 6 magazines. So how long can he fight? What can he do against a tank? So these guys undoubtedly knew what they were doing, and they did the ultimate sacrifice, giving their life so others may live. These are the things that we see heroes do in the movies. That's the thing that we see in the Bible. That's what Jesus did. Went and gave his life so others may live. The world needs more men like this. They held no illusion of survival, yet willingly sacrificed their lives to hold back the invaders so that the Druze and the Christians of the village could escape to the mountain of Al-Suwayda and survive the massacre by the Syrian regime and its ISIS fighters. More than 30 villages like this one were slaughtered by the Syrian regime and its allies. Not all were lucky enough to have men like Al Shaarani family, men who gave their lives so others could live. As we're speaking, many of these villages were completely cleansed. We don't know what happened there. We don't know how many people got killed. The people in Suwayda are still under siege. They can't even go and retrieve the bodies. I guess the Syrian regime has already been evacuating the bodies, maybe doing mass graves. That won't be the first time that Syria have done that. But the crimes that took place in many of these villages are insane. Now you see, these Druze men are simple farmers. They're living in the farmland around the mountain of Suwayda. They're considered as hard as it can get. Strong men of the land that wake up early in the morning, that work physically in the land. They know the land like anyone else, and they were willing to go and fight until the end in order to save Druze, Christians, minorities, and etc. That is the Druze way in Syria. The Druze have become the guardians of the minority. The Druze have become the only ones in Syria that did not bend the knee to Sharia law. And right now they're under siege, fighting for the future of the minorities in Syria, including Christians, Alawites, Yazidis that are hiding in their mountains, fighting alongside with them, while the government is trying to slaughter them. Heck, they went and they made a jihad. They called Muslim tribes from all over the Middle East, from Lebanon, from Jordan, from Iraq, from Chechnya, from Somalia. They came all the way to the Druze mountain in order to kill, and these two young men decided to stand their ground and alone held an entire army and saved an entire village. What a way to go. Anyone who's watching this right now, or at least myself, and I know some, are probably thinking the same. If and when your day comes to go, that's the way you want to go. Fighting to protect your loved ones. Going all the way and sacrificing your life so others can live. What a way to go. I salute these guys. Rest in peace, heroes. In the next video, we're going to hear the testimony of the man who was shooting at the drone and later on got injured and got evacuated by his cousins. Let's hear what he has to say.
احنا لنا لندافع عن ارضنا وعرضنا. درونات هاي درونات اول مره بحياتنا بنشوفها نحن.
That's the first time he's seen a drone. I mean, talking about an unfair advantage. These are the two brothers, by the way.
هاي درونات تجي تقف. أنا إصابتي بالدرون هاي. سيارات الشهيد. أنا إصابتي كانت بالدرون هاي فوق راسي وضربت القنبلة تبعها. يعني ما لحقت اقلب أكثر من 3 قلبات لو تجي علي قصتني بالنص.
That's the village, by the way, if anyone want to know where it is. Here's an interesting thing. He started the interview by saying, these are our weapons, and they're here to defend us. And I know there's a lot of controversy about weapons in many countries, including the US, mostly in the US. But this is a very sharp reminder. What happened when the government turns to start killing its own people? The only way that people can defend themselves is by their own weapons. So when you have a country that is disarming its entire civilians from weapons, which is what is Syria trying to do right now, take the weapons from the minorities, that's usually a big no-no. As someone who was in the special forces and the IDF, who is, I would say, highly trained with weapons, I can tell you that weapons are not the problem. Humans are the problems. Weapons in the wrong hands are a big problem. Weapons in the right hands are a very good thing. That's how you defend yourself. And I mean, if we'd live in a perfect world, yes, great. No need for weapons, just bows and arrows to go and hunt some animals. But we're not living in a great world. We're living in a very dark world. There's a lot of evil people. And usually what happens, a lot of evil governments, that's the first thing they try to do, to start disarming the civilians of that nation. In the case of Syria, they want to disarm anyone who's not a Muslim, just so they can go and slaughter them. And right now the Druze are refusing to be disarmed, and that's why they're still defending themselves. And that's why they became the last line of defense for Christians, Yazidis, any basically minority in Syria that is running to the Druze mountains seeking shelter, because they still have not bent the knee to Sharia law and they're still defending themselves. Now, I've asked some of my Druze friends from Syria to explain to me a little bit what we saw here in this video, and this is some of the comments that they gave me. This is what I know. It was 3 men, 2 brothers and their neighbor. I guess he did not know about the other 2 when he wrote me that. Date July 16th, they had no military training. They saw ISIS attacking and wanted to hold the line so women and children had the chance to escape. The neighbor was hit first by a drone strike. He survived but was badly injured. The 2 brothers held the line alone for 2 hours, giving hundreds of women and children time to run away. Eventually, ISIS used a BMP and an MRAP to push forward, and both brothers were killed. It's kind of hard to say exactly what was that, but it pretty much looked like a Russian tank, but I might be wrong here. I mean, if you look at the firepower that it had. The home that was hit by the BMP was their own. The 2 brothers lived next to each other. It's a typical Druze story, holding the line at their own front door to give others a chance to escape. Here's another more detailed report that I got from one of my relatives in Syria. The Battle of Al-Dour village. 5 young cousins of the Al Shaarani family 5 rifles, against a convoy of ISIS tanks, artillery, and drones. For an hour and a half, they stood their ground long enough for the village to escape, sparing them from the fate of the other border villages that were slaughtered, including the massacre of my own people. One fell as a martyr. His brother cast him a final glance, then carried on the fight. Another fired at a drone overhead, was struck down, and gravely wounded. They shielded their families and their land, while ISIS sent drones in place of soldiers who lacked the courage to advance. 5 young men did not flee, did not falter, did not fear. Their weapon was not just a rifle in their hands, but the honor in their heart and the dignity of their people. These are my brothers, my strength, my pride, my proof that truth does not break. The martyr hero, Hassan Al Shaarani. The missing hero, Ashraf Al Shaarani. Well, I guess they haven't found him yet, but they're assuming that he's been dead. Just like I said, it's pretty much impossible to go to these villages. The Druze people are still under siege. They can't leave the mountain. Another hero, Muhannad Ghassan Al Shaarani. Another hero, Zuhair Marwan Al Shaarani. And another hero, Yusuf Sabir Al Shaarani. Severely wounded, the guy that was shooting at the drone. The man who wrote this post added as well, Yusuf is my brother in life for 25 years. He is also the father of little Zayed, a beautiful child with autism, whose handmade bracelet I wear with honor at every celebration. 5 young men against an army, and in that hour and a half, they proved that honor is stronger than artillery and dignity is greater than drones. What a crazy story. The world needs more men like that. 2 brothers stood alone and held an entire army, doing the ultimate sacrifice, saving countless of lives, Druze and Christians. We don't see that often anymore. But that's the Druze for you in Syria. And if we don't speak up, they will be left alone. Like I said, they've been cut out of the internet. And let's face it, if it wasn't for the Starlinks of Elon Musk, they would probably all been slaughtered right now. I don't know if Elon Musk even knows that his Starlink have saved another countless life in another conflict far away where the government is trying to slaughter minorities. Thank you, Elon. We highly appreciate that. So this is a reminder that the battle is far from over. The Druze and the Christians and the minorities in Syria are still facing a risk of extinction by the Muslims in Syria who are trying to go and kill everyone that is not Muslim. And in this case, everyone that is not even Sunnah. So it is important that we keep an eye on this because the mainstream media is just covering for this, and world leaders, well, the minorities in Syria don't have a lot of money. So people don't care about them. World leaders, politicians. But we're living in a time and age right now where every one of us, myself, yourself, have a smartphone, have an access to the internet, can go and raise his voice to bring awareness, can go and maybe even pressure us. Because let's be frank, politicians do things only when the majority of the people want them to do it. That's a sad reality of politics. It's quite rare to find a politician that doesn't do that. Some of them don't, but they're quite rare in that swamp called politics. And in this case, if we don't say a word, we will have the minorities in Syria, Druze, Christians, Alawites, Yazidis, Ismailis, Kurds, all erased from the face of this earth. In our watch. Thanks for watching. See you next time.